Wow, look at this prestigious group.
Well, of course.
How is everybody?
Hi.
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Yes,
Doing good.
very good, thanks.
You know, I'm getting my vaccination on Wednesday, and I got a check in the mail today from the government. So how could it be bad? Well, I got a card, a credit card, but same thing.
The fact that you got an appointment in Indio, I'm assuming. Yeah.
You know what happened? I had one at Beaumont because Saturday I was on, going crazy. And then this morning, my doctor from Eisenhower said, no, we've got one already set up for you. So just come into Eisenhower on Wednesday, and they've already set up shot 2.
That's great.
Wow.
Eisenhower.
I tried all day Saturday, nothing.
Well, I'm going to give mine up. I wonder how I could give it to you.
Well,
I've got one at Beaumont at 12:15 that I'm going to cancel because I'm going to go to Eisenhower.
we heard if you call 211, they will call you with openings that they have. So we called. Kim's on hold for an hour and hasn't gotten through to him.
Well, supposedly by next week, we should have the convention center as one of the county sites. So that will really help for people who can't get to one of the other ones. So that'll be a plus.
For most of the places, there's no serum, there's no vaccine. Like Desert Oasis Healthcare doesn't have the vaccine.
Right.
No, they called and said they have an appointment but no vaccine.
Right.
I'm on that list too.
And that's a big population that uses Desert Oasis.
Yeah,
All right. It's 5:30.
it's 5:30. Yes, we have a quorum. So I would like to call the January 2021 meeting of Parks and Recreations Commission to order. Can I ask everybody to stand for the pledge that you will be led tonight by Gerard?
Jaira.
Jared.
All right. Let me share the screen. Let me turn them up. All right. Here we go.
And the pledge today. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Very good. Okay, can we have roll call?
Yes. All right. Chair Boley,
Present?
Vice Chair Caldonado,
Present.
Commissioner Alcorn,
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Here.
Commissioner Cohen,
Here.
Commissioner Crawford,
Here.
Commissioner Diaz,
Here.
Commissioner Goodman,
Here.
Commissioner Martinez,
Here.
Commissioner Lamort,
Here.
and Commissioner Sanchez.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Director Alvarado, could we have a report on the posting of our agenda?
The agenda was posted on Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 as dictated by policies and procedures by the city at both of their city website, City Hall, and the Leisure Center.
Thank you. Everyone on the commissioners has received a copy of last month's minutes. I assume you've gone over them. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, changes? Commissioner Diaz, were you raising your finger?
No, I was trying to get my cat to not cross my keyboard.
Okay. There are no additions, corrections, or changes. Can we have a motion to accept the minutes as published?
I do.
I'll motion.
Thank you. Vice Chair Alvarado, and a second by Commissioner Lamarck. Were you asking a question, Commissioner Goodman?
No.
All in favor of accepting, raise your hand, put it where I can see it. We're going to assume that the two that we don't see are up, three we don't see are up. You didn't say not, so approved. Director Alvarado, do we have any correspondence?
None today.
None today. Do we have any public comment?
I don't see anybody in here for public comment. The extra faces that we have visiting today are going to be part of a presentation later.
Okay, if there are no public.
Chair, this is Travis. I wanted to abstain on the minutes because my call dropped last time and I wasn't there for part of the meeting.
Thank you. If there are no public comments, we will dispense with the reading of the public comment statement. I see a couple faces here on our screen, Dr. Reddy and Councilperson Kors. I'd like to welcome them to our meeting tonight and look forward to hearing some updates from you. But first of all, I'm throwing it to the city manager's comments. Do we have any city manager comments at this time?
Hey, good evening, everyone. I did want to join in Mayor Kors, Councilmember Kors, Mayor Kors at the time talked about us joining just to get a sense of how we can assist further. So from time to time, we wanted to do that. I would just note that, you know, as we're moving in now to February, we need to start really thinking about the budgeting. So we're going to start putting together budget scenarios and sending to council, as you can appreciate, you know, what we hope to be post-COVID, that our budget could look different than what it was in the current fiscal year. But we're not exactly sure how our revenues are going to finally come in. Our hope is that it's better than it was. That being said, I think that the commission, we need to start thinking about some of the budget priorities, and that would be important at least over the next 1 to 2 months. So, Mr. Chairman, that was the main thing that I did want to mention. And as Councilmember Kors, you know, we can answer or address any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, and it's still good to see you sitting there. Councilman Kors, did you have anything to add to that at this point?
Yeah, what I do want to add, well, again, thank you for all the advocacy. I think as everyone knows, you know, we did have better numbers in the budget than our most conservative projections, and the area we focused on were some of the parks programs that we had discussed, which did get approved. So really glad to see that having happened. So I want to sort of echo Dr. Reddy as we look at, and you look at priorities as we do budgeting, to really focus on that early, because there's still a number of projects we all want to see move forward. Other thing I would touch on is Thursday night, the city applied for a matching grant to have a dog park at Demuth. We were one of the locations that was approved. And so there is a measure coming forward to use Quimby funds for that purpose, as well as a little bit for Measure J. So that is coming to council on Thursday night this week. And that's pretty much what I had to report. I mostly want to hear sort of from the commission and priorities as part of the sort of quarterly check-in we've been doing.
This is, remember, we have Dr. Reddy and our Councilman Kors at one meeting each quarter to take feedback from us and give us some ideas and updates. Can I ask the commission for some input to them as to some projects that we're wanting to see? Of course, we know we want to see the ones we have one right now completed, but commissioners, what would you like to throw to these two gentlemen to address? I'll go to Council or Commissioner Cohen.
I'd love to get an understanding, which I don't think my fellow commissioners do either, have an understanding of the downtown park and current timelines, I know they continue to change because of COVID, and also how we as a commission should set our expectations properly in terms of being able to have some input to what's going to be built there, ultimately the final budgets, and how it then becomes part of our charge of Parks and Rec, because it's kind of been taken away from us.
Sure. I'm happy to address that. And as council member, I would yield to you, Councilmember Coors, if you wanted to, or I could address it.
No, you probably have more specifics on the dates and where we are on that. I know what I know from you, but there could be more information.
So the project is continuing. As we know, there were some slowdowns, particularly when we had to shore up that underground and make those emergency repairs. And that was the largest cause of the delay. So we're through that now. And one good thing also, you see that all of Alvarado is open. So we've got the remediation issues on both sides taken care of. The construction clearly hasn't been going as fast as we had hoped. It will be completed this year. And actually what we're going to get is we'll have is a full updated time frame, time schedule for you, which we need to articulate to both you and the city council. So engineering is working to finalize that. Now, unless Cynthia, you have something more updated on that particular time frame.
I don't have anything. I don't have a timeline yet.
All right, so engineering, Marcus Fuller is working to finalize that, and at a minimum, I'd like to have a presentation probably at the next meeting, City Council, February 11th. So we'll get it to you prior to that. That being said, and David, I wasn't certain specifically when you talked about the design, and maybe you can clarify because the design is complete. That was done some time ago. Are there other different aspects you were referring to?
It wasn't really about the design. It was more along the lines of how the budget and what monies have been found to complete what was designed, and what compromises have had to be made. And then ultimately, at what point does our commission begin to kind of more get involved and take over? Once it's built, I assume it's part of a city asset under Parks and Rec. But up till now, we're kind of a little dialed out of the situation. So I was just curious as to what we should expect.
So is the budget in the design, it's going to, the budget is there for the design as it was anticipated. And so that is what's going forward. But you are correct that once it's done, it's going to need a lot of attention. Programming, maintenance, all those things clearly are going to be in the province of the Parks Commission for some guidance, and your guidance on those issues certainly would be appreciated.
Any follow up to that, Commissioner Cohen, or you're fine? Let me go to Commissioner Goodman.
Thank you. Did I miss a projected completion date? Knowing that the timeline is growing, just was wondering if you had an idea.
Well, it certainly by this summer is the revised date from what I understand, but we need an update on that. But importantly, what I'm going to do is not just get you a genuine update. I want to get you a timeline specific in line from the contractor. And that's what Marcus is doing now. And so if there's some discrepancy in that from what we believe, we need to get explanations why. But we do need to be able to articulate the final time frame for that.
Possibly I can ask this question. Can either of you address how the projects that we had approved through Measure J funds are progressing at this point? Anything that we need to know about there? Because I don't see that we have anyone from our engineering.
Right. So Marcus is off today. Now they're all in different phases of the design RFP, all that process. So Cynthia, I don't know if you have a more recent update.
Yeah, I will. Don gave me updates to read when it comes to that item for the agenda. He just wasn't able to make it because they are a little bit short-staffed and trying to buckle down on some projects.
Okay. Any other commissioners with questions or comments for Dr. Reddy or Councilman Coors? Commissioner Goodman.
Thank you. I don't know if you gentlemen will actually be with us for the entire meeting. One of my questions is actually, I believe, on the agenda. I didn't know if you would be hanging around, and if you are, then I would wait until that time.
I'm planning on hanging on. I know the city manager may have other
Yeah, no,
stuff.
I'll be here as well.
Oh, you will be here. Okay. So one question I have, I'm just curious to know, is there a process of communication to commissioners for Parks and Recs or any commission that you have that would flag topics at city council meetings so that we know when they're agenda-sized on the city council agenda and we can attend?
Yeah, so well, how about this? So, as you know, commissions speak through their votes. And so when you have a vote on a recommendation to council, yes, that needs to move forward and matriculate up to the city council agenda. So the department director is the best one to help shepherd that and to keep you informed of when it goes there. You know, and there's a couple different ways that depending on the project, either it's a receive and file or it's a formal discussion or action item. But once you take a vote, then those would matriculate up to council, and I would rely on the department director to help keep you informed on that process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one that I had that I'd like to ask. We had been working on a project with a subcommittee on naming different facilities throughout the city. All fields, park naming, bleachers, different areas that people have requested already that things be named. I had asked the chair of the downtown park if they had any input as to what was happening with the naming of the downtown park, or if we should put something in our words from the commission about we're eliminating that or we're working with that too. Can you address, is there any naming going on for the downtown ideas?
There has not been any formal discussion at this point, but again, that would be one. Let's just say you wanted to make a formal recommendation to council. You would go through your discussion process and make a recommendation, and that would then go to city council. So something like that would probably be a receive and file. If city council members wanted to bring that item forward for a full discussion, they would ask us to do that at a future agenda. So that's generally how that would work. Now, if it's a larger, like a policy issue, for example, your naming of all the different things that you were just talking about, on something like that, we would probably put that on for more of a discussion item.
Yeah, and I'll add, now Mayor Holstedge and Mayor Pro Tem Middleton were liaisons to work on potentially raising funding towards the downtown park, which could include naming. I don't know the status of that, or since I can't talk to them about it. So I would reach out to one of them on that piece as well, with the thought being that any money raised would go into parks, you know, in the city through any of those efforts. So I would check with one of them on that as well.
Okay. Yeah, we've had several. We have Commissioner Cohen, Commissioner Caldonado, and Commissioner Crawford have been working on our subcommittee of ideas, and they've gathered information from various cities across the country to put together on naming and how other cities do it. And we were hoping to get a little bit of feedback from council before we finalize it, because we'd like to send it to you with our recommendation.
I'm gonna get back on this. Thanks, Art. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So let me, so David, if they want, the subcommittee sort of wants some input from council members, so maybe whether it's Lisa and Christie who should meet with them, I'm happy to do it with another council member. So if you can check in with Lisa and Christie if they are still working on that or not. Otherwise, I'm happy to be one of the two folks.
Well, good
to work on the subcommittee.
Commission, because the water is off at the airport, by the way. The contractor just hit the wrong line. It'll be fixed soon. But I do need to tell you, as the parks, they have requested that their temporary restroom facility that's over at the dog park be moved back over there because it may be till tomorrow, later tomorrow they can get it fixed. So we're going to put signage up at the dog park saying that the temporary bathrooms are temporarily unavailable, but I want to give you a heads up on that. Okay, and Councilman, I will speak to you in, Lisa.
Okay, thanks.
If you have a chance, Vice Chair Calderon, did you get a response from your email on that question?
I did not.
Okay, we have both, myself and Vice Chair have both requested of Mayor and have not received an answer. I did it last month, he did it about a week ago. And so if you get an idea, we'd like to know what we're supposed to do on that.
Okay. And David, let them know I'm happy to work with the subcommittee with one of them if they're not already meeting.
Okay.
And tell them we'd like to have Councilman Kors with us.
And that's on the naming policy, correct, Mr. Chairman?
Just keeping us updated. Right now, yes, it was on the naming policy as to how we were supposed to move forward with what we were working on for the naming of parks and facilities, whether that has any input on, if anything had been talked about yet. We didn't want to do something, they say, oh, we've already done that. Do we have any other comments, questions? I don't want to run at all. If we don't, I'm sure there'll be some more questions as we come on. Let's move into our staff update from Director Alvarado.
Well, first, let me say Happy New Year, and I missed you guys in December. And thank you to everybody who texted me or emailed to check to see how I was doing and my family during our sick time, and we're glad to be back here at work. So as far as department updates, late last week, we were released to be able to take out our programs back into the park. So the mobile recreation programming that we were doing is back and reinstated. Unfortunately, because of the rain, we did have to do a little Zoom because we didn't want people to get wet or experience some of that little bit of snow that was falling earlier today. So the programs that I'm talking about is the youth conditioning, the 4 kids only after school homework tutoring program at the James O. Jesse, dance classes, the department is going to be putting together some programming for Black History Month in February. We will have a really active social media going on, as well as some programming at the parks where you'll see posters while you're in different park areas, and you'll be able to scan the QR code and it'll give you history on either a musician, artist, athletes. There's a gamut of African-American individuals that we will be highlighting throughout our parks. I will get you more information once I have all of that so that you guys can share it. And we'll put a posting about it on social media as well. So it should be a really exciting time. We are also going to be doing kindness rocks in our parks. We're going to have some black chalkboards up where people can write nice, kind messages. Or you'll find some decorated rocks with some nice messages, kind of like the heart Valentine candies that you find, and you can make your little messages to send to your friends. So you'll see that throughout the parks as well. We're trying to get our community a little more active. Even if they don't feel comfortable coming to classes, they can at least still participate somehow. So you're really going to start to see a lot more of that programming in our parks. We intend to take basically the same type of formatting for St. Patrick's Day, and then obviously, you know, some of the other holidays that'll be coming up. So we're going to really try to make a push for that so we can bring some education while you're out walking at the parks and, you know, doing your own activities. I am working on the application for the Prop 68 grant. It did get, the deadline did get pushed to March. So I am working through that and going to meet that deadline and say a little prayer so we can get this extra park on the north end. And then on Thursday, Council Member Kors already touched on it, but there's going to be the grant match request. It's in new business, it's 5C, and we'll talk about that a little bit later through in the agenda. But there's also another item, it's 1N. It's on consent calendar. It's for shade structures that Measure J is funding. This was part of the recommendation that the subcommittee put together, and it's going to be for 11 structures. So basically it's going before council to get the contract awarded so we can get this project moving. So we will finally have some beautiful shade structures at our parks. Boccia Ball is going to be starting on February 5th. It's in partnership with From Palms to Pines. The instructor is ready to go. I have a flyer and I'll send it out later this evening to you, but it's being marketed on our social media and it should be on our city website as well. It is a special needs program, but all abilities are welcome. So this is the beginning of us really being inclusive with our community and bringing programming to everybody. So those are my updates. Stacy's on the line, so.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Alvarado on our staff updates? Travis, I believe you're blinking. Are you asking a question?
This is Travis. I have a question. You mentioned these activities in the park. What are the plans for November for Native American Heritage Month, considering much of Palm Springs is actually on federal Indian land? That wasn't one that I heard mentioned.
No, we're not at November yet, but we'll definitely make sure that we have it programmed.
All right, I just want to put that out there so that when we get to that time, we don't overlook that month as the city has in the past.
Any other questions for the director on staff updates? If not, can I ask Director Alvarado to give us the project updates that she has received from engineering?
Do you want updates from Stacy first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that she was down there because I didn't see her smiling face. Can we go to Director Schaefer for updates? Hi there.
Hi. Apologize. I'm actually in my truck. As Dr. Reddy just said, I just finished putting up the signs and the restroom trailer from the dog park has been relocated. We also have, I believe, the other restrooms are doing well. I have had no issues or concerns, complaints that I'm aware of for the temporary restrooms we have up at JOJ. They are well used and I believe that's been pretty successful. I wanted to also let you know that we have completed the repair on the electrical issue at Demuth in that small restroom as well as the parking lot lights. So that has all been resolved now.
Great job, Stacy.
Thanks. That was a challenging one, but yeah, so that was good. We worked through that. And I believe right now we're about 80% through the palm tree trimming citywide. We're at the airport now. We've got a few areas to go and then we need to bounce back to downtown. But otherwise, and I just want to remind you that's palm tree trimming only for this fiscal year. But I think we're moving along pretty quickly. I realize it was a little bit of a late start, but they're moving pretty far along. And so I think that's going to be all said and done, going to be very successful. I think not to step on Dawn's or Cynthia's piece, but have been working with engineering on the landscape in front of the pavilion. I think we're going to have some options hopefully within the next week or so, and I'll make sure to forward those over so you can all take a look at those. I got the map today from Cynthia for your bench locations, so I'm just going to pull up a few quotes, send out to your team hopefully in the next few days to make sure that we're all on the same page on what type of bench we want replaced. And then obviously the flooring up at the gym at the Desert Highland Unity Community Center is moving forward. I've met with them a few times on that, and I think that's going to move pretty fast as well. And then I think the last that I was working on, we're still working on some playground surfacing. Obviously, the shade structures are going to council on Thursday. And the acoustics over at the pavilion, we're, I believe, meeting with the contractor this week. That's what I have.
And
Thank you very much.
she's covered Dawn's updates.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Director Alvarado, that covers all those updates too, you're saying?
Let me just double check for you.
You look when we get back. I'm going to ask if any of the commissioners have any comments for Director Schaefer on the facilities maintenance. Commissioner Goodman.
Yes, thank you. Hey, Stacy. I'm curious to know what your kind of assessment is on the City Hall dog park since it's been reopened. I think we reopened December 20th, so about a month now.
Yes, again, it was beautiful. I took a lot of pictures the day before it opened. And again, as always, it is a well-utilized, very well-utilized location. I actually just ordered additional gravel. We're going to put that into, actually, what needs to happen, we have a tree I've had an arborist assess, and I'm going to probably work on that this week. That it appears the one tree there, I think everybody's aware, is pretty well dead. But I need the arborist to confirm that. And once we confirm that, we'll be removing it. And at that point, that's when I want to bring in more gravel to start reburying those lines. I don't want to add gravel and then pull a tree out, etc. So the gravel is going to be one thing. They've reseeded and fertilized over and over. The drains are doing what the drains can do. We've double checked all of the watering to make sure that it's down to the minimal amount so we don't have the muddy spots. Other than, I'm very, very excited that this Thursday they're going to take the recommendations for the second dog park up at Demuth to council. That will hopefully give us a little leeway and slow some of the traffic down at that park.
Thank you. So my thought is, so I'm at that City Hall dog park about 6 days a week. And wow, it just breaks my heart. One, as a taxpayer, and two, as a Parks and Recs commissioner. It breaks my heart that every year we go through the same thing. And, if we're reseeding over and over again and fertilizing, and I'm not convinced that a second dog park will actually solve all of those problems. Many of the people who go to City Hall Dog Park go because of the location, and they have medium-sized dogs to smaller dogs, like maybe 30-pound or 40-pound. And I know the Demuth, especially in our town hall meetings or our community conversations, we were really hoping for a place for larger dogs. So I guess my point is that the money that we spend each year might actually be reduced if we would have a serious conversation about swapping out most of that grass for DG and using grass as more decorative. And I don't know how we as a commission or how the city would be willing to have that conversation or move that idea forward. But at this point, if we take 5 years, and this has been going on 5 years, we probably could reduce our costs and save some money, and there'd be some very happy people. And I know there'd be very unhappy people who just want a lot of grass. But the truth is, all winter long, it's mud or dirt. It's not grass. The grass is so tender and it's so delicate, winter grass, it can't really sustain the paw traffic. So I don't know how we can have that conversation and move that forward. I would open that up for your suggestions, Stacy or David or Jeff.
Designed, I agree with you, Ms. Goodman. It's music to our ears that you would want to do that, but isn't that the design?
Well, that design happened a very long time ago. We made this decision. I was actually a part of those conversations about 6 years ago, and the city spent $350,000 redesigning it, and grass was the least interesting to the city. But we put grass in because the community wanted that grass, and they were really vigilant about having grass. And 6 years later, I think it's a real waste of tax dollars. And I think people in the park would agree.
Well, could we clarify, Cynthia, Stacy, the anticipated design is going to have much less grass, correct?
In
Of
Duluth.
the new dog.
Yeah, the Demuth Dog Park got less grass and more of the DG.
Right.
So Commissioner Goodman, I think, so what you're suggesting, I think would come from the commission if there's a recommendation to make changes to a lot more DG.
Yeah.
I think you should come from the commission and up to council.
Yep.
And I'm happy to, be a liaison to work on that as well, because if it's never going to work. I agree with you. A lot of us thought that back at the day, but the community was adamant. But I hope most people have seen, just drainage, all the things that have been tried. The winter is still you can't have that many dogs on that grass and have it make it through the winter. So happy to, be a liaison and work with the commission if you'd like me to. And, but however you want, I bring us a recommendation.
And I want to just clarify, this is City Hall, and that the community and all the meetings we had for the Demuth Park, I mean, it was hands down, and they designed it. DG was really the primary ground coverage for the large run spaces. So, Travis, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, this is Travis. I mean, this is Travis. I mean, I really disagree with Commissioner Goodman, unfortunately. I mean, first of all, this is a wider community conversation than pushing these ideas at commission meetings like this. I mean, we've had a series of meetings at the park, and we've had meetings at the leisure center, and people do want grass. And, going to this park for 10, 11, 12 years now, I mean, I see when I go to Palm Desert Park where they have grass and that small dog park is heavily used, they don't seem to have these problems. I also see, when you go to that park, and a lot of Palm Springs residents are going to that park during the shutdown, a different kind of maintenance schedule there as well. And so I would hate for the commission and the council to take this kind of action without a much larger discussion and really detailed what's going on. I mean, part of the problem was when the city redid the dog park before, there were some ideas from the community, but there are others that weren't. And I think there's a way to be creative with how much grass we have without taking it all. And of course, there's this whole discussion about the drainage and the irrigation system. So, people want the grass. I mean, during the drought emergency, when those of us on the drought task force, we talked about ways to reduce the grass in other ways and also keep the park open when there'd be reseeding by different configurations of the grass and the gravel. And the city folks at that time nodded their heads and said, yeah, that's an idea. And then when the designs happened, nothing came to reality in that. So, it's really having to sit down and look at the park and how people use it rather than a commission making a recommendation without a much bigger discussion.
Perhaps we should have our subcommittee put together a written report of ideas, suggestions, and solutions that we could forward on to our council from park. Could I ask Commissioner Goodman, Commissioner Armstrong, as dog park subcommittee, and to put that together for us?
Yeah, and I think there's a compromise, because I don't think I recall saying removing all the grass. I think I said that the primary square footage where the dogs are running the hardest should be DG, and that grass can be more decorative so that everybody can enjoy it. Otherwise, you might as well, have a mud bath or put showers. I can't tell you how many times I've thrown my dog in the bathtub after the park. So Travis, if you were willing to do that, I think that would be a great thing we can bring back next month.
Definitely.
Commissioner Goodman, Commissioner Armstrong, there's only two of you on that subcommittee. We have grown now and gotten our numbers up. We also have some new commissioners. Are you looking to have anyone else join you on that subcommittee at this time?
Definitely. I think that's a good idea.
If we have any of the new people that are now commissioners that would like to be on that, please let me know and we will make an appointment to that subcommittee. Someone that has interest in that. I'm not asking you to do it now. Let's, you can email it to Director Alvarado and she can give it to me, or give it to me when we're talking. But it would be nice to have at least a third person on there to help out, because that's a lot of work on this one.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner. That pretty much gives you the update on our project updates, I am assuming, from Director Alvarado.
I just have 3 things to add. The ball field light conversion to LED lights. Staff is preparing a request for proposal for the engineering design. And then the Sunrise Park restrooms, the bid will be opened on the 27th, so we can see what type of bid was turned in so that we can begin to work on the staff report to take back to council for award. And then the downtown park work continues on the police station and the rock formation for the water feature. Structural repairs to the parking garage under the new park have been completed, and more activity will occur on the west side of the project. Those are the remainder of the updates.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions on those other updates that the Director gave us? If not, could you give us the updates on the COVID verbal report, Director Alvarado?
Sure. So the governor spoke today about the stay-at-home orders. Those have been lifted. Tomorrow, we're expecting to see some more updates be given in regards to a variety of things. But what we're interested in seeing is some of the sports and other services that could affect a Parks and Recreation department. So after tomorrow, we'll see what the county's going to want to do. And then from there, we'll see what council's going to want to move forward with, or what decision they'll be making, so that we can figure out how this department moves forward in regards to services. So we shall see what the direction will be after tomorrow's update. And hopefully it'll mean a few more programs. But if not, as long as they let me keep what we have now, I'm okay.
And maybe softball?
You know, Johnny, I wish. I don't see that coming forward quite quickly.
I understand.
So we'll see though. You know, hopefully they don't, if they do restrictions, hopefully they're not too big, but we'll see what they say. So those are my COVID updates.
Okay, thank you very much, Director. At this point, we do have a discussion on the proposal of a desert arts project at James O'Jesse Desert Highlands Unity Center for recommendations from us as a commission. Director Alvarado, who do we have here? I see a couple faces, and I'm not sure which ones.
So we have
you introduce
Mara,
our people?
Yes, we have Mara Gladstone, Jenny Gill, and Jassa McKenzie. Mara, do you want me to give you control so you can share your screen, or do you want me to share from my end?
I can share it. My last time I did this, I made a mistake, so I might abandon that. But yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay, go ahead and try it. I just change the setting. Let's see what happens. Is it working? Oh, Mara, I might have to bring you in to do some screen sharing for me.
Yeah. Do you not see it? Do you not see
yeah.
it?
Yes.
It?
Looks
you
good.
see it? Okay, great. Okay,
I see it.
Okay. Yay. Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Mara Gladstone. I serve on the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission. I've been on the commission for almost years. But I recently joined the staff of Desert X, and this proposal, as the director of programs, public programs for Desert X, just background who I am. This proposal actually came out of a conversation that I had with Jarvis Crawford, who is a friend and also serves on the Parks Commission, as you know. He reached out to me knowing my relationship to the Public Arts Commission. And so let me move forward. Oh, that didn't do that. Sorry. Okay. Can you see this image well on your screens?
Very good.
Great. Okay, so this is one of 13 projects that Desert X will be installing in the Coachella Valley for Desert X 2021 exhibition. This artist is named Serge Atukwe Klati. He is from Accra, Ghana. And he has become well known globally for his woven sculptures and installations that are made from yellow plastic jerry cans known as Kufor gallons. These are colonial objects. They are remnants of a colonial past when I think it's the Belgians had produced these and distributed them for locals to transport cooking oil. In the last 20 to 30 years, these jugs have been repurposed to be used as vessels for carrying water from wells into local communities. So they're very common objects and they're recycled objects, but they're also trash. They have a kind of, you know, they're an important object, but they're an everyday object, and they are this very vivid color. So he, as an artist, is very interested in environmental issues, and I think his projects really resonate with people around the world in terms of thinking about recycling and the environment and issues of water, which are all issues we share here in the desert. So the Wishing Well specifically is a project that he's designed for the Coachella Valley, and they're sculptural objects. Well, this is a map. This is kind of what they would look like. This is an early mock-up, and I can share a photoshopped image of how we envision two of these large sculptural objects installed at the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center. Two of these objects comprised of woven jerry cans, woven plastic jerry cans would be installed in that sort of back area, that beautiful back area behind the James O. Jesse Center that faces sort of north towards the San Jacinto Mountains, and sort of there's like a sort of a vast expanse of the desert, undeveloped desert area, and then also the wind farms in the distance. So Dieter Crawford reached out to me because this project had originally been proposed in the city of Coachella, and it was declined by the city. They did not want to have this project installed there. They didn't want to they didn't want projects that talked about water issues. And Dieter said, hey, you know, this is the location here is really interesting because of the James O. Jesse Center's its proximity to the wash and the natural flows of water that used to occur in this region and continue. But he also said, you know, this is home to the largest African-American community in the Coachella Valley. And so for these two reasons, this would be a really interesting project to bring here. Can you look into seeing whether this is possible? And so as a public art commissioner, I've always wanted to cite something compelling and large scale and interesting in North Palm Springs. And as a recent employee to Desert X, I presented it to my colleagues who are also present on this call. And they agreed after visiting the site that it would be an incredible place to be able to install this work, as well as draw attention to the really good work in the community and the really strong community, the oldest community here in Palm Springs. So that concludes my presentation, but my colleagues and I are here to answer any questions, technical or otherwise. I should also mention that the Public Art Commission did support this project, not with any funding towards this project, but supported the idea of this project. So here we are presenting it to you for, to bring up some questions about any other questions you might have about the logistics of it, things like that. I'm stopping sharing. Stop sharing.
I was wondering if you could go back one slide and show the location of the
Sure.
sculpture in the map that we had of the schematic that was sent to us.
Sure.
I think everyone got a copy of this. I assume this X is it?
The X is it.
Is this supposed to be a project that will be ongoing? Once it's put in, it will stay there, it will go in and it'll come out? What is the?
So Desert X is a temporary exhibition. All of the installations are designed to be temporary. The exhibition is scheduled for a 9-week run. However, there are some projects that will likely be extended, and we would welcome those conversations. There's specifically conversations with the artists as well, but Desert X would welcome those conversations. It's a possibility to keep it longer, yeah. But they're not designed necessarily as to be permanent sculptures.
Commissioners, I cannot see everybody on my screen right now with this up. So if someone has a question until this gets down, would you like to address Mara with it? Your questions would be fine. Commissioner Cohen, I see your hand up.
I'm just quickly, maybe I missed it, but when are you proposing that this installation would go in? And if it is in the relatively next few months, how are you going to deal with issues around people and COVID and distancing and bathrooms and all the other things that we should be asking?
That is a great question. And for those answers, I would like to turn to my colleague, Jenny Gill, the Executive Director of Desert X, so she can share with you a little bit more of the specifics of our planning an outdoor public art exhibition during a pandemic. I can let you know that we design every site with clear signage about where to park. We designing it with walking pathways that are both ADA compliant and follow current COVID safety. But I think Jenny can talk to you a little bit more about those details as well.
Thanks, Mara. And thank you for having us at the meeting today and for these good questions, David. We've been preparing this exhibition since March 2020. So and we've had about 10 months to make it really COVID resilient. And, both the artist projects, but also the visitor experience has been really adapted to be functional or safe during the purple tier. As you might know, we recently announced a postponement of the show until the stay home orders were lifted and that we felt that it was safer for our exhibition to open. We are a very popular exhibition and attract hundreds of people to Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley. So we wanted to make sure that our impact was always safe and very respectful of our communities. So in that light, we will be announcing soon a further opening date within the spring of 2020. We're now looking into sometime late March or April for actual opening, and the exhibition would still run for 9 weeks. We've made adjustments from prior years' exhibitions in order to provide more COVID safety to our visitors, our teams, and our volunteers. The main one is that we have procured for what we're calling health ambassadors to be present at each of the sites. And these will be security team members and colleagues that will make sure that our COVID guidance are enforced, such as the mandatory wear of masks, 6 feet distance, and we will ask people to follow the paths that we will be designing with the host of each installation in order to avoid gatherings of people. And we'll be reinforcing that communication through signage on the site, signage on our apps and website, and printed program in order to ensure everyone has a safe experience of Desert X when we can open, hopefully very soon.
Thank you.
Commissioner Armstrong.
This is Travis. I have a question. Could you tell me, are there other exhibits being planned within the city of Palm Springs?
Yes, this would be one of 6 that are planned for the city of Palm Springs.
Okay, so since we do have the city manager and a city council member present, I would like to express, one of my concerns about Desert X in the past is that, I guess it's CEQA exempt. You're talking about parking areas and staging areas and trailways, and in the past, these exhibits have endangered Native American prehistoric archaeological resources. And so it doesn't seem to me in the planning that there's been a lot of concern about tribal cultural resources. The one that you're talking about at this park doesn't seem like it would possibly endanger prehistoric resources, but I do wish the city would look at that in the planning process, because there were ones in the past that were in sensitive landscapes that they shouldn't have been in.
Go ahead.
Sorry, if I may answer, that's a very important issue to us, and we have, for this 2021 exhibit, we've been in touch since early last summer with Patricia Garcia at the Agua Caliente tribe to run all of the exhibition sites through them in order to make all the cultural analysis and make sure that we move safely onto sites by having consulted a tribe on all of those sites, yes. Although it's true, it's not always it's not a requirement for all of the sites. We have made sure that we consulted the tribe on all of the locations, and we do take the recommendations.
Right. I mean, that one tribal government is one tribal government in this part of the valley, but if you're in other parts of the Coachella Valley, there are other tribal governments as well that should be consulted. But my point is more for the city officials. It's great that you guys are finally doing that consultation, but it really should be part of the city process as well, through some requirement, given what happened a couple years ago.
Well, the city is sensitive to that issue, and the planning department does take that into consideration when they believe that it's required. And I would also note that the tribe is very proactive when they see anything coming to the city that they think it requires that as well.
Commissioner Crawford, you're up there at James O'Jesse all the time. Can you give us a little bit of your all's input and desire or questions that you have from the Desert Highlands area?
Yeah, so as Mara said, this was a project that I actually reached out to Mara and Desert X about. I saw that the project in Coachella was being relocated and thought that James O'Jesse would be a good fit. Desert X has been trying to partner with the community since 2017 on the inaugural event. And we actually passed up on an opportunity to have an art piece up there. So we wanted to reach out to them and see if it would be possible to put some of that art back in our community. And with this piece in particular, Desert Highland is the largest predominantly Black community. So we thought this would be a good fit. And also James O'Jesse has proximity to Chino Canyon and the Whitewater River. As Mara said, and Travis may appreciate this or he may not. We thought that this would be a good way to highlight the issues of tribal groundwater rights with the lawsuit that we see going on right now with the tribe and the 2 local water districts, since it has issues also in Ghana with water issues. So I thought that would maybe be a good way to tie it in, but also to showcase the community on an international level as well. And as Mara said, Desert X presented at our neighborhood meeting last Tuesday, and I think it was pretty well received.
Mara, I noticed you did say there was no financial input from the Arts Commission. Where is this being funded?
It's a great question. Jenny?
I always get the easy questions, right? So there's different sources of funding for this work. Mainly an important collector in LA who's very supportive of Serge Atuque's work and has been for the past years, has helped us ship all of the Kafur gallons and all of the materials from Ghana to LA. They're currently in Palm Desert waiting to be installed. And the rest of the funding is coming from board support, our donor support, and sponsorship, which we have secured for this next exhibition.
Thank you.
I'd also like to mention, as the director of programs for Desert X, that we're planning a suite of public programs and hope to engage with the youth community at the James O. Jesse Center specifically, perhaps doing a virtual artist studio visit or conversation. So we just want you to know that beyond the artwork itself, we are trying to, make sure that there are tools that visitors, whether virtually or in the community, have to, dig deeper into the project and understand it.
Okay, does everyone have a pretty good overview of this project? Do you have any more questions? Are we at a point where we should move forward with a recommendation on our to accept or reject the placement of the objects in our park?
I do want to highlight one thing before you make a motion and the commission takes a vote. That what you guys decide to do tonight is basically going to move forward as a recommendation to council, because council will have the final say on whether it is placed or not.
Thank you. Vice Chair Caldonado.
I think it's a great idea. And if the city's okay with it at this point, and I know it has to go forward to the council, I recommend that we go through with it. I think it's fantastic.
So that was a motion from Vice Chair Caldonado to accept this and move it forward with our recommendation to the council.
Second.
And it was seconded by Commissioner Goodman. Can I have all the commissioners in favor of moving forward with this? Raise your hand. You got that down, Cynthia?
Yeah, do you want us to call for any nays?
I'm going to ask Commissioner Armstrong what that was from him.
No, I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes. Did you have a vote? We don't know. Can I ask for anyone, for all the nays on this recommendation? Raise your hand if you're a nay. Abstains? I believe the commission has approved to move it forward to the council with our recommendation. Okay, I'd like to thank you two ladies very much for presenting this to us and for your time this evening. You're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of our meeting if you would like.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Our next item is the appropriation of Quimby Act park fees as the city's local match for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grants for the Demuth Dog Park project. And I believe Commissioner Alvarado has update to give us to bring us up to date on what is happening there.
Yes, so this staff report will be going before council on Thursday, where we are basically requesting that the grant match fund for the LWCF grant that we submitted on behalf of the Demuth Dog Park be approved by council. So basically the recommendation is to confirm the city's availability of funds for the grant match for the Demuth Dog Park project in the amount of $1,650,235, which will also request to amend the fiscal year budget for 2021 and then amend the fiscal year budget for, so there's two for amending the fiscal budget areas for 2021. And then include appropriation of the addition, the $650,000 of the Quimby funds and some measured J dollars. So this item's gonna go before, obviously we've been waiting for a while for the state to tell us if we were gonna get this grant. And at this point, the state is interested in if we're going to be able to do this grant match before we receive our final information on whether we're going to be awarded or not. So I just kind of wanted to give you the update on what is happening. And I know that the commission is very interested in getting this project awarded and completed, as Palm Springs loves our pups and we need more areas for them to play and run. So if you have any questions, I'm here. It's also a good time if you guys want to select somebody to represent at the council meeting and speak on behalf of the commission, we can do that as well.
Commissioner Goodman?
Yeah, Cynthia, could you just clarify something? And I mean, I did read through it and, you know, I was familiar with it, but I just want to make sure that I understand it. So it hasn't been awarded yet, and it's based on the city being able to match the funds. And if the city agrees to match those funds, then the grant would be considered. Is that correct?
So we are a project that was forwarded for consideration. And there's still, you know, as I reported the last time we talked about this, that, you know, the state was a little bit behind on getting things through their red tape because they were short a few hands and they're trying to finish this up. As part of their finalizing this process, they want to know where we are with our grant match.
Okay, and then there was another part that said something about, and I know we talked about it at a previous commission meeting, John was a part of it as well, that there was a 2-year, they were giving the city, there was a timeline that allowed it to go 24 months?
Yeah, God, I want to say it's like a 2 or 3 year completion date. So this allows the city to budget a portion of those dollars in this year and a portion in the following year. That way it's not all out of one fiscal budget.
Okay, right, that's what I thought. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councilman Kors, you know at what the council is leaning or doing. Would you think it is to our best interest, Thursday, to have a spokesperson to speak on behalf of our Parks and Recreation Commission for this?
Yeah, I don't know what other council members are thinking, although we're unanimous in supporting moving this forward each step of the way. So I haven't heard anything otherwise, but it's always helpful. Either you could have someone speak in support, or you could just let us know that there's someone available if there are any questions for the commission, and then we can call you. So either way, that would work.
Commissioners, do you have someone that you would like to recommend be the speaker, spokesperson that knows this project, that is very up on the dog parks, that is a female lady sitting here on our commission I'm looking at?
Ellen, that's you.
We run a good meeting. My calendar is open and I'm available to be at the meeting, and you can call me, or I can Zoom room and with cameras off, however you'd like to do that. I can be there to support it.
Do we have appoint Ellen to be our spokesperson for this?
I think she's the perfect one to do it.
I agree with you. That's what we will, that's where we'll set that one into motion for Thursday night.
I do have a question about it. So Cynthia, does that include the paving of that lot going into the Duluth Community Center and Field 7 and 8?
I believe so.
Okay, cool.
And Cynthia, is that where the small dog park, is that the area that Johnny's referring to?
The area that Johnny is referring to is where the dog park is right now. So that parking lot is nothing but dirt. So a part of the grant application was to pave that area for better accessibility.
And the small dog park was also in that area, right? It was a kind of a connected.
Right, in the community meetings, they wanted to move the small dog park over to that portion. So once, at some point, we'll have to reconvene and get that design updated with the community's input.
So this grant does not include the addition of that small dog park.
It did, it was just on the other side of the park. So we had to submit the grant with the original design that was put together, but we do have the opportunity to update that with the community's input from the meetings that we did held. We haven't had a chance to do that because of the deadline.
And is there enough room to do the paving for more accessibility and including the small dog park?
They're two different areas, so one doesn't affect the other.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of our commissioners on that subject? I do thank you, Commissioner Goodman, for taking a lead on that. As the subcommittee on the dog parks and the person that's there a lot, I think you will be more than ready to answer their questions. All right, our next subject is reports and updates from our ad hoc committees and verbal reports. I know we've pretty much had input from most of our committees, but do we have anything else from the swim committee? The park restroom committees, Jody, Charles, pickleball, our park naming I know working, and our dog park we're working with, and our Measure J, there isn't anything. Our arts in the park, Commissioner Diaz and Commissioner Lamort, how are things going at the arts in the park?
I don't know where Charlie went, but everything's been, you know, they're progressed right along there. We've got, next they were going to work on painting the like electrical boxes, not that they're necessarily all in the parks, but they approved to continue with benches until there are no more benches to paint. And you know, they finished everything that they had set out to do. And that's pretty much it. That's all I've heard of recently.
How long is this project going to continue?
Till we run out of benches.
Well, there's no more benches and no more.
I didn't know whether there was a contract or not.
So we've colored Palm Springs and the Arts Commission ran out of money.
Okay. Are there any other ad hoc committees that would like to bring anything up at this point? We're going to move and get our commissioner comments, but before we do that, I have something I want to bring up to the commissioners, and that is each month you get a packet of information and things, and I'd like for you to make sure you're up to date and read that information and are well versed on what you've received so that you can discuss it. I know that I felt like there was a little bit of loss last month with our naming committee when they were trying to discuss with us, and we had all that. Secondly, as we go around commissioner comments, last month we had a public input from a gentleman asking about us putting together some ideas for the Lawrence Crosley parks, Memorial Park, street, whatever. We didn't have anyone mention anything about agendizing this to discuss it further on. And we did have public comments, so I'd just like your feelings when we go through our commissioner comments today as to where you feel you stand on what we should be doing with when we have a public comment of this nature. I know we don't have money to do everything right now, but I would like to ask your comments as we go. Before we get into that, let's start at the top of my screen here with Commissioner Cohen. Do you have any comments and for today?
Thank you. No special comments, and to answer your question, I don't really have, I'd like to think about it. Just because somebody brings up something during public comment time, I don't believe always rises to the level of something that we need to necessarily agendize, but sometimes it does. And I think that may be for the chair and co-chair to take lead on, especially, but I don't have an easy answer for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Diaz.
Yes, I was on the committee way back when we were trying to get the name, just the name of the road changed. I've been working on that for a long time. And so it's been presented to different committees. And so I think it should be agendized, and, excuse me for not saying that should be something important enough to put on the agenda. I'd like to see that addressed. I know that like David just said, doesn't always have to be, but that is something that has been, he's a historical figure of this city, a founding person of this city. We also asked Cynthia's department to recommend that he is one of the faces that we see during Black History Month on those placards that are going to be put out in the parks. I feel like it's super important because it's he's part of Palm Springs, the origin of Palm Springs. So that's how I feel about that. And I guess that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Martinez.
No, I do not.
Okay. Let me ask Commissioner Goodman what you have to bring us tonight.
Well, I did
You got 2 minutes.
I did a lot of talking already, so I'm complete. I want to thank Jeff and David for being with us today. Thought that was really helpful. And I'm going to echo some of the other comments that, there are certain items that come up in public comment that should be for a full discussion, a hearty and robust discussion. So I would like to see those. And others will eventually bubble up for discussion at some point.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Alcorn, could you weigh in on this for us?
Yeah, I got. You know me, I'm a quiet listener kind of guy. I only speak up when I speak up too often, actually. But as far as public comments, I'm happy that we can put them on, up for discussion. We need to when I feel that it's a group conscious and we feel it's, pertinent to what's going on. That would be awesome. And my only other comment is I'm glad we got some outdoor activities going on for the adaptive community. I've been pushing for that. So thank you, Cynthia, as well. Just looking forward to doing some more stuff with the city. So thank you.
Jerry, we need to start working on an archery class.
You tell me. I'm game. I'll do it. We'll do it.
I'm going to call you. I'm going to look into purchasing the equipment so that we can start this class between you and Janice.
We'll facilitate it. No problem.
Perfect. Commissioner Crawford.
Yeah, I just want to echo what the other commissioner said about the public comment. I think that we should take those into consideration and maybe put them on the agenda every now and then. Public, they do make a valid comment. So I think that we should take those into consideration as well. Jody covered a lot of the stuff with Lawrence Crosley, justifying why we should look at that and maybe try to honor him with some sort of park or pocket park or something of that nature. And then just for the commissioner's comment, I just want to say that we're going to be doing, Fine Food Bank is going to have their mobile food distribution this Thursday, January 28th at Desert Highland Unity Center from 4 to 6 p.m. And then they're also going to be doing COVID-19 testing. And one other thing, Johnny might like this. I just want to see more stuff for children and families. I'm not against the dog park, but I remember when that was the batting cages, and now our families have to go all the way to Palm Desert just to see that kind of stuff. So I mean, it seems like we're going further and further away from stuff for our children. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention, that used to be the batting cages. Now, I went to the hitting zone last week with my nephew in Palm Desert. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention.
Thank you, Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Sanchez. Let's move on to Commissioner Lamort. It shows he's connecting audio. Must have had to redial in. While we wait to check with him, can we go to Commissioner Armstrong?
Yeah, this is Travis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, thank you for the director for everything on the dog park. Just to add my comments to what Commissioner Crawford said, that's one of the fallacies that people have about dog parks. Dog parks are social spaces for people, all kinds of people, families and single people. There was a Desert Sun article a few years back that actually had very interesting interviews with people talking about the connections and community connections made at dog parks. So this idea that it's just for dogs is not really correct. I mean, if you go to the dog park in the early morning or in the afternoon, most times you're going to see a bunch of people there. You go to other parks, there's nobody there often. So the idea that we're just creating spaces for dogs is completely incorrect, and it's kind of a narrative that is often used when it comes to funding. I did want to ask, weigh in, we were talking about naming. Hopefully we name our down park after Viola Ortner, who was the first tribal member to serve on the city council and served on the planning commission, and there's no really public space in Palm Springs that recognizes this queer pioneer. I had a comment for the director question. Maybe we can talk about this long-term homelessness in the park, particularly right now in the wellness park. What are our policies when people take over an area for months at a time? How does the city handle that? Another thing I'd like to ask about, when you get answers sometimes, is our skate park. I was unclear if that is actually used for bikes as well, because I've seen people with bikes in there. I didn't know that was something we did. And then lastly, I'm not going to give an answer on this public comment. I kind of feel like polling everybody at commissioner comments is kind of skirting some kind of agendizing issues, Brown Act issues. Don't really think it's kind of appropriate for us to give, I'm going to give an opinion on something that's really not on the agenda. Thank you.
Hey, Travis, let me answer the two quick questions that you had. So we do work with PD regularly on the houseless issues that we are having at some of our parks. So we do try to work with them and try to mitigate as much as we can. Obviously, there's certain things that we can do and obviously other things that we can't because it is a public park. But then as far as the skate park, yes. So BMX biking does have some time to go in as well as skate park. And that's always been a part of the programming. So that's not something new.
And the reason that I brought up about the public comment is because I received an email about the fact that the Arts Commission had favorably talked about it, but we had kind of ignored it. So it was my commissioner comment to ask everybody else's opinion. Is there any other comment? Oh, Vice Chair Caldonado.
You were going to leave me out there, Alan. Hey, David, it's great to see you, my friend. And I hope the best with you and for you. Jeff, thanks for coming on board, visiting us. Great meeting tonight. And I do pretty much piggyback what the rest of the commissioners were saying as far as agendizing certain things that are brought up. I think that's about it, but it's good. Cynthia, great job. I'm glad you're doing well.
Yes, it's great to have her face back. Commissioner Diaz, your hand is up.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I'm wondering if we couldn't put on the agenda for next month also a discussion about having some more fitness or workout stations at different parks, not just at the wellness park, but if that's something we could look at for other parks around the city.
Very good. Commissioner Alvarado, you've got that down for our minutes when we talk.
Yes.
Okay. I too want to thank Councilman Kors and Dr. Reddy for being here tonight. Do either of you gentlemen have anything else that you would like to charge us with, like new projects or anything to keep, or what would you like to say to us?
I yield to the councilman.
No, just really appreciate all your work, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me at any point. It'll probably be the last meeting that the city manager will be on, so I think we all appreciate all he's done for the city, and also appreciate him sticking around until we have someone new on board. So I want to acknowledge him for that as well.
Thank you, Councilman Kors. Yes, we are going to miss you tremendously, Dr. Reddy, when your face isn't there to bring us up to date on things and guide us along.
Thank you.
If there are no other comments from the commissioners, we could ask for a motion that this meeting be adjourned. No one wants to. Commissioner Goodman is making the motion that we adjourn the meeting, and Commissioner Alcorn just seconded it. All in favor? At this time, I move that January meeting is adjourned until February 22nd, 5:30 by Zoom. And I want to thank you all for all your input. You have something to say, Dr. Reddy?
No, thank you, everyone.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank you.
Take care, David.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well.
Thanks all.